Hi, I'm Miss Haley with the Huntsville-Madison County Public Library, and today I'm going to show you how to make or draw a Zentangle. They're super duper easy and fun, and you can draw them any way you want, and they don't really require any practice or skill with drawing. So to start for this activity, you're going to need a Sharpie with a fine tip. So mine is a double-ended. So I have a fine tip here. I'm also going to use the thicker end of my Sharpie, but you do not have to, and I'll explain that here in a minute. You will also want maybe some patterns. I found these patterns at tinyrottenpeanuts.com, and I also have some just that I've Googled from around the internet, so I'm going to spread those out so I can see them. And these are mostly for inspiration. I won't necessarily use all of these, and I may not use many at all. You can come up with your own patterns, but you want some examples of patterns to use for this. And you can use any pattern you want and however many you want. The trick is to use a different one for each space. But right now I have a blank piece of paper, which you will also need one of. I'm using cardstock today just because I wanted it to be a little thicker. I wanted it to stand up, especially since I'm using Sharpie, which will bleed through. But you can use regular paper. You can also use any pen you want. It does not have to be a Sharpie. So today I'm going to draw my Zentangle starter. So for this, you just want a bunch of random lines around that close off some shapes that we're going to fill in. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. But you can also find online just Zentangle starter pages. If you Google that, Zentangle starter page, you will find all different sorts of starter pages that have spaces for you to fill in. You can just print those off and use those. You don't have to make your own, but I wanted to show you guys how to make your own in case you wanted to, or in case you just didn't have access to a printer or something at home. So I'm going to use the thick tip of my Sharpie for this, just so that those lines will be really visible for you guys. You can use a finer tip. You can use really whatever you want for this. So to start off with, I'm just going to make some lines going across my page. I'm just putting them wherever I want. They're just kind of random. I am curving them a little. I like curved lines in my Zentangles, but you can do straight ones. We'll do a straight one right down there, for example. Maybe have one right here. Let's continue that line all the way down and across. So it helps to go from one edge of the page to the other. You don't have to, like I drew this one kind of in between. But it's a little easier because you're not going to get any weird sort of marks. If you look at this one that I did not go edge to edge, you can see sort of where the pen mark ends. So if you're making your own with a pen, that's just something to keep in mind. I also like curved lines because then you don't have to worry if they're straight or not. All right, I think that's good. Maybe one more. There we go. So I've got my Zentangle starter page now. It's just completely random lines. There was no logic or reason that I did them the way I did them. I just started drawing. And I went from one edge of the page to another for the most part, except that one. So now we're going to fill in these spaces with patterns. So each space, that's a space, that's a space, that's a space, is a separate thing. And you want a different pattern in each one. And it's okay to use the same pattern. Say you really, really like one pattern, that's fine. Just try not to put them next to each other. So if you put that pattern you really like here, you wouldn't want it in any of these spaces that are touching it. You want it pretty far away. So maybe here and up here. Keep that in mind. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that if you are doing a pattern that's kind of tedious or really complicated, you might want to keep it in a smaller space because a bigger space is going to take longer to fill in. So make sure you use your bigger spaces for ones you really like to draw. So we're going to start, and we're just going to start adding some patterns. I'm going to start up in my top right corner here because I think you'll be able to see it a little bit better from my camera angle, and I'm just going to start putting in a pattern. Super easy, right? Let's see, which one do I want to do? Let's do That's the hard part. You have so many options, it's hard to pick which one you want to do. Let's do the dots. So I'm going to do right here, and I'm just going to put some circles. I'm just going to fill the whole thing in with circles like that. Shift it so you maybe can see better. And then once I get all these circles filled in, and I'm just kind of randomly putting them in. These are sort of like little bubbles, just filling in. If I have a space, I can do a half. Once I fill them in, I can go back and add a little circle inside them, like that. And that will be one pattern. And then I might color in the background. So that would be, if I completed that, that would be one pattern. I'm going to show you guys a couple, and then I'm going to fill it in and I'm going to speed it up so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me draw forever. Random patterns. So let's take this one here, and we're going to do a herringbone pattern. So for the herringbone pattern, you want some straight lines. So we're going to do, I'm going to just follow that one line. I'm going to do a straight line here. You want them to be about the same distance apart. You could get a ruler for this if you wanted to, or a straight edge. I have a popsicle stick here. I'm going to use that. So if you really want your patterns to be precise and you're using something that requires straight lines, you can get a ruler or straight edge. You could even just stop here. Lines can be a pattern too. We could fill them in, make them stripes. Make some of them darker. It really is completely up to you guys, whatever you want to do for your pattern. So you keep going until you filled up the entire thing, and then we will make it into a herringbone by using some diagonal lines. Like that. So now we're going to add some diagonal lines. So every other, the line will slant up in the left and down to the right, and then that next one it'll go up. So it's going to look like that. So you'll have a bunch of lines, and again, you could use your straight edge here, especially if you want them all the same. And then you just connect those lines over going the opposite way. So up the other direction on the other side. Okay? And then over here, you'll go down again. You're just always kind of connecting those lines. And you can vary them. You could make some small and some large. That looks neat too. And you just continue that all the way down. So right now I'm going to speed up. I'm going to try to keep each of my patterns in the camera here, and we will see what we wind up with at the end. Okay, so I finished up my last pattern, and it takes a while, so the time lapse here is going to kind of throw things off a little bit for you guys, but this takes a really long time to fill out, so you might want to come back and leave it, come back to it later, however you want to do it. But this is my finished Zentangle, and as you can see, it looks pretty cool, and there's all different kinds of patterns. You can even do this in color if you wanted to. You could do all one color, you could do a set of different colors, you could do sort of an ombre effect where there's different shades of the same color, so like different shades of green. But you can really play with this, and it's very open to interpretation, whatever you guys want to do with it. And it's also just really, really simple. You can do pretty much whatever you want. There's not a right way or a wrong way to do this. So I hope you had fun with this. I hope you have fun making your Zentangles. If you would like to share those with us, we would love to see them. You can send them to us on our Facebook page, which is Huntsville, Madison County public library, and we would love to see what you guys come up with. Thank you.